Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Himanshu. I'm a BPM practice lead with Infosys, and I help a lot of customers like you adopt digital using Appian as a core enabling platform out there. So today morning, a couple of our customers had come in over the booth and were asking me if we're going to really show them a lots of ones and zeros in the session today from a digital perspective. And we were just joking around saying, yeah, if they have a lot of dollars at the end, yes, we would definitely be interested to show them all those ones and zeros. On a more serious note, what we're going to talk about today will revolve around what are the problems that you see in digital evolution and adoption. How does Appian help? And what are the core set of fundamentals that are needed to go ahead and take Appian to the next level? And I have my friend Ashok here with me, who is our Appian practice lead. He's going to also take us through a set of demonstrations that we have developed in Infosys on top of Appian around specifically managing and maintaining the unstructured part of work, which is so very important in today's digital evolution. So with that, just to give a glance of Infosys, there might be a few people in the room who might not have been introduced to Infosys before, but we are a system integrator company, more than 8 billion in revenues, more than 36 billion in market cap, close to 165,000 people out there. We've invested more than 500 million in innovation and R&D. And something which we are very, very proud of is right out there in values. More than 97% of our business is repeat business, which means that we definitely work a lot with our clients. Our clients love us in what we do. We love our clients with what we do with them. And that's where that number stands for itself. As you can see on the right-hand side on the clients, we also work with most of the top clients in each and every vertical, and that's just a representative sample. But each and every vertical, sub-vertical that you take, Infosys works with the top most clients in our spaces. Move on, please. Now, when we started looking at Infosys digital by itself, we broke it down into 4 solution themes, right from what we do for our clients in the customer service and the experience area, to digitization in terms of the front end and the back end operations, whole lot of back end operations work, right from capital expenditure approvals to employee onboarding to supplier onboarding and so on and so forth. But at every point of time, not only automate, how do you actually digitize? And by the meaning of digitize, how do you take away the paper trail? How do you help people collaborate to be able to do that particular work by itself? How do you utilize the newer world of things around it to make it happen, and so on and so forth? That's where the third and the fourth line items also come there around how do we make it work in an interconnected world of devices? How do I ensure that my customer experience and my customer and my employee productivity in terms of the work platform is standard across all of these channels, irrespective of the channels or irrespective of the things which are deriving that channel come out from? And as a part of doing it, how do we leverage and get our clients to adopt newer ways of doing business? We were working with an insurance client of ours a couple of months back, and they wanted our help in figuring out how do they go ahead and educate the young drivers as well as reduce the number of incidents that were happening and hence obviously drive their own costs down. But we were able to go ahead and partner them with another automobile client of ours, and we are now jointly working with them using a set of technologies in Appian to go ahead and drive them towards a very different way of doing business with the young drivers. They've not done it before, but we are taking a lot of events from the sensors that the automobile client is building for the insurance company. We are working with the young drivers to educate them at every step of time. We're getting a lot of those notifications onto their iPhones and the iPads and the wearable devices only at night and not while they're driving, obviously. But whole different fundamental ways of doing business. And we are seeing more and more how important it is for that young driver in terms of being able to communicate with that organization, with the mechanisms, with the channels, with the devices, with the things he or she wants to do it. rather than me educating their parents and them and giving them driving courses and so on and so forth. But just a different way of doing business is what Appian is helping us drive in that manner as well. Now, it's easy to say that we work in all of these 4 solution themes and use Appian as a digital platform to do it. If you go back and look at what drives the core architecture of all of these solutions is those 5 things out there. Any interaction that you do either manually or with the system, with the things, results in those events. It could be a system event, manual event, it could be a transaction, it could be an interaction, whatever not. But at the end of the day, it's generating an event. You need to capture it, you need to figure something out. All of these events will result in some data. It's your ability to go ahead and look at that data, contextualize it at that very moment, and that context could be for that channel, that customer, that order, or anything else out there, or that thing from which that it is coming upon from. How do you contextualize and generate insights from it? And based on those insights, take real-time action. And that action is again gonna further go ahead and generate a whole lot of sort of other events, and then that cycle continues to go on and on and on. Now, how do you leverage Appian's product features and capabilities to drive some of these fundamentals? And more importantly, build what we call as a contextual knowledge base for your organization. That's the core that we are driving with a lot of our solutions that we are working with our Appian customers today at this point of time. While you do this, what happens is that there are a couple of more dimensions which make the problem slightly more complex. There are multiple layers which start to go ahead and let you define and redesign your solutions. Otherwise, that solution above there's a set of reference architecture which we evolved, and it's very easy to solve that way. But most of these problems and the events that they generate is not a structured world that they have, right? You will end up doing a lot of unstructured data, events, work. The processes that you have designed will not be able to sustain 100% of your work at any point of time. Data is going to continue to reside across multiple applications, legacy in the process, in the transaction, all over the place. And you will not be able to do anything and everything with it, even though you might want to go ahead and get it all in your records database. Customers will always want it to be personalized, in context, interactive, and evolving at any point of time. And last but not the least, the things. And when I refer to things, they are anything and everything, right from your sensors to your devices, to your machines, to your human beings. They're going to continue to pound you with a ton of data which might be relevant, irrelevant, doesn't make a difference. But for you to go ahead and produce context around it is what makes it unique. Another example of a CPG company who was using sensors in their vending machines to be able to distribute their colas and their juices at that point of time. How do you go ahead and gather that information, apply some context around it in terms of whether the customer is trying to order from me, is trying to just get some information, just trying to get pricing, or wants to do something different? Should I be able to place a back order? Should I be able to go ahead and give input that I am at a place which is hot selling right now at this point of time, or do something else? All contextual. You might not be able to design anything and everything around that context because your systems are supposed to learn and generate that context for you. And hence, a whole lot of other fundamental learnings and findings that we are able to evolve in this digital world which we are doing using Appian as a core platform. If I move on, please. While adopting this digital world, there is a lot of my customers ask me this question. So what is it that Infosys that you do differently? We spoke about the reference architecture of the Appian solutions. We spoke about the layers and the complexities it can bring in and how you solve them. But if you would have to tell me, what is it that you do differently when you approach this digital world with Appian as a core platform for you? We had only one single answer, that what Infosys does and tries to do it in our methodology, our ways of doing things is find you that sweet spot between customer experience and work experience. So it's neither customer experience as the only thing that I'm going after when I'm doing my projects, not the work experience only. Typically, the KPIs that you would see in most of your projects would be around, I want to increase efficiency or productivities of my employees, suppliers, partners, or I want to go ahead and increase my customer experience. How do you get to that sweet spot in between? Right. So what we have done as part of delivering digital solutions using Appian is to go ahead and build a whole lot of utilities, checklists, templates, entire design thinking approach to going and solving this problem. Just as an example, when we were doing it for a transportation company, they wanted to do a very simple process around invoice reconciliation and batch match between their accruals, their liabilities, and the invoices, and trying to match up all of those things and so on and so forth. The business never asked us how should we leverage Appian's capability around collaboration. How should we make them more context aware with a whole lot of other data that is not even a part of this process. But if I get that data in the right time, at the right place, and help the person who is trying to do that batch match, his world changes drastically at that point of time. Nobody asked us to do it. But when we started applying some of these principles, that's when we went into our design thinking workshops, and that's when all of this started to come out. By the way, on the design thinking, just so that you guys know, we are partnered with Stanford University. We are training all our consultants. We invite our clients to go ahead and partner with us as well. We do a lot of sessions for our clients as well at Stanford University on design thinking approach and principles. So more than welcome to go ahead and join us there as well. Now, what we have seen so far is how Infosys is helping in the evolution of digital using Appian as a platform. But if you look at it, there are some fundamental things needed from any platform, and that's why we believe and we're betting big on Appian to bring in some of those capabilities out there. Right from leveraging the things to creating that experience for the customers, partners, employees, to going ahead and increasing the productivities and efficiencies. Remember, I spoke about that sweet spot between customer and work experience out there, to making things contextualized, personalized in real time. And how do you action that real time with all of these things that you build up there? So whenever you're approaching your Appian projects out there, you might be on your first project or your nth project out there, it's important to start looking at some of these fundamentals, saying, am I leveraging the underlying technology? Am I going ahead and doing something which is going to serve me both from a customer as well as work experience? It might not be an underlying KPI of this process by itself, but am I leveraging the technology in that fashion or not? And you would be surprised that the technology is there, the power is there to go ahead and harness. It's just a matter of what questions you ask in your requirements and design workshops and what approaches you take to the reference architecture. We have some good success while utilizing some of these fundamentals as well, right from a bank to a retailer. When I like the retailer there in between, you would find a ton of products in the digital asset maintenance management spaces, the DAM products for playing around with your images, videos, and a whole lot of other things. Using Appian to do a whole lot of other things on top of it is really cool. People don't do it most of the times, but when you start using it and adopting it, it's a whole new ball game. I'm not at liberty to talk about more of it right now at this point of time, because we are in the middle of a launch there with this customer. But it is helping that customer start to shorten the entire life cycle of where they were in terms of the e-commerce maturity versus where they wanted to be. If they were to simply go ahead with the DAM platform, like the way they were doing it at other platforms, they would have taken close to 3.5 years. That was what their program life cycles was. When we started adding on the Appian flavor on top of the DAM platforms, we're going live in less than an year, including their DAM product. So that's the power and the capability it can bring to the table at this point of time. Now, what we would also see in the next couple of minutes is how does all of this unstructured work, how all of these things around the table go ahead and create issues while doing some of the Appian implementations, and how we have implemented a specific solution on top of Appian. We have built an entire solution for dynamic case management on top of Appian. we went to a lot of our customers who were either evaluating products or who had seen a couple of other products. They had always asked us questions around, hey, I see some of these cool features. Can you do it for me out there? And we have some examples from the telcos and the financial services industry, but I'll let Ashok talk more about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm audible? Yeah. Awesome. So, to help understand this problem better, all right, and also the solution that we are bringing in here, so I would like to start with a simple example that you can all relate to. And then what we'll also do is to go through a quick demonstration of the solution here along with it. Consider this is a hypothetical bank. Let's call it a good old bank. So it has, it's in the business of commercial lending. So it funds business, help business fund various projects there. So what it has is it has a very structured underwriting process. So that has a defined number of steps. It has good parameters that it has evolved, and it has a set of folks who do that. So everything is good until one day there's a new prospect that comes into the picture. This is a French real estate company. So they want to invest in commercial real estate projects in the US. So everybody is excited about the new prospect. So they want to partner with this company, and everybody is looking forward to that. That's where they discover a problem, that this company don't have a good credit score because of their history, the length of the history in the US. So the usual process, the usual underwriting process doesn't qualify them. So that's when people brainstorm and then say, yeah, it sometimes happens, and then I know what we need to do. We need to do some additional steps. So you have your regular steps, you have a regular process here, but there is a need for additional processes to be done along with it. So what are these additional processes? Somebody says, okay, if I can get some additional documentation from the field agent and get the legal review done for that, have my risk officer sign the risk memo, and then have my senior VP approve it, we are good to go, and then we should be onboarding this customer. So the usual way to do this is to spin off a chain of emails, right? We do that, but the problem is that this is an offline activity. There is no visibility into what's happening, what is the control over that, and things do tend to fall between the cracks. So this is a typical problem. You don't have a trace of the events that are happening to understand, so this is where the solution that we are trying to propose is addressing those aspects. So this problem is not just limited to one sector or one industry. We are finding it across industries and across functions there, be it the campaign management in marketing, or the order management in telecom, or claims processing in healthcare, and so on. So every industry is having some use case of some kind to manage unstructured work, right? So what are the problems here? So the problem is that the work is not 100% routine always. There is always some amount of ad hoc nature for the work. There's always something that needs to be addressed as an exception. And customer interactions, are becoming more and more complex. They cannot usually be resolved by one user. It needs a group to solve it. It needs collaboration to solve. On the brighter side of things, you can see that the workforce is connected 24/7. Everybody is online across time zones, across locations. Everybody is ready to participate. Everybody is ready to participate and collaborate anywhere, anytime. And the good thing is they want social style communication. They then rather than formal sporadic dialogues. So they prefer social style communication. So those are things that we thought that we should be able to leverage there. So what do we need to do to take advantage of this and to address the problem? Firstly, companies need to focus on removing silos. So we need to have a culture where we are empowering the users to work smartly, cut across departments, cut across units to solve work. We should also be able to focus on effectiveness rather than efficiency. It's not how fast you get it done, it's how effective you are to get it done. you should be focusing on innovation. You should be able to leverage the collective knowledge of your group or organizations to get things done. And you should have a solution along with it, which is flexible enough to accommodate the changes, and it can allow adjusting to unstructured situation, day-to-day exceptions, without compromising on the integrity and the visibility of the work. So that's very important. So that's where what we did was we took the core strengths of Appian and built a solution on top of it. We call it the dynamic case management solution, and what it does is it allows you to respond and act in real time. So when I say real time, it means that you don't have to go through a deployment or an IT change. So it will allow you to generate and modify the process flow on the go. The business users will be able to do that. Along with it, it's not just the process, you can also generate the user interface or the forms for each one of the activities on the go. So it will help you to make work travel across silos. Along with it, you will get the robust work automation that is there. So assigning work, reassigning work, and things like that. You will have real-time visibility into what is happening. You can pull the context of the work using Appian records. You will be able to collaborate anywhere with the social capability of Appian. Along with it, to ensure that nothing is falling between the cracks, you will have a very watertight escalation and SLA mechanism to control all of this. Right? So coming back again to the same example, we had a situation of an underwriting or due diligence. We had a series of steps that we thought will resolve this particular crisis. We will see in a short demo and how we are doing this and how quickly we are able to do this. I'll just need to reset the display.
So while Ashok does that, as you were saying, this is applicable to multiple industries, multiple kinds of works. We were having a conversation with a telco client of ours a couple of days back as well, where we're talking about how unstructured the work could be when you're dealing with different kinds of orders with different customers, and how do you decompose that order into multiple buckets. And just in case if you introduce a new product, how difficult it is to be able to go ahead and manage that on the fly at this point of time with the business users being doing that. So that is applicable to that scenario as well. What Ashok was showing you was a banking scenario and so on and so forth. So this is applicability across any unstructured work, any kind of task for any industry.
Right. So what you can see is you can use this to create and manage your cases. So it will also be able to plug into your existing case origination or a transaction system that you have already, so that you can port those instances or cases from that system. So you can define all your case information, the priority, the closure date, the parties that you want to be involved, and then you can attach documentation and information for the context of the case. And then once you generate the case, the next step would be to manage the case. Managing the case is nothing but you are able to define the set of activities that are there that needs to happen to get the work done. So for instance here, the 4 steps, right? I mean the information from the field agent, the approval and the review from the legal department, and so on. So what we also saw was usually the activities that you want to get done are of 3 types. One is either you're asking for information, or you having a review done, or you're getting an approval done. Right? So these are the 3 different activities that you can choose from. And once you have chosen these activities, you will define the due date and you're assigning it to the particular group or the individual there. You will also be able to define the sequence of activities or the dependencies, whether you want it to be happening in parallel or in sequence, right? So you can actually define whether you want it to be starting with previous or after the previous activity. You can define the type of work, whether it's approval or a review, or you just need information from that person or action from that person. And then you can, once you have defined all that, So as you can see here, you have a list of sequence of activities that you have defined in no time. So usually you would go ahead and then design this in your processes and then try to roll it out. But this is something where you have an exception or a unforeseen scenario. You will be able to generate this within no time. So once you have defined these 4 activities, the next step would be to define what kind of form you want to present to these users. Right. So you can also define the data elements that you want to be displayed to that particular worker. So for instance, the field agents, you want to gather some information on the market valuation and some financial indexes and things like that. So you would actually enter all that thing that you need from that person. Then once you have done all of this, you will be able to provide the instructions and the feedback that you want to pass on to each one of those actors, and then you go ahead and generate the tasks, the activities for them. Right. So you have those. So each one of the participants, they will be able to get this form. So this is what you had configured just a while ago. You wanted the valuation score and the financial index and so on. So that particular user will be able to provide that information, and they are passing it on to the next person in the row. Right. So like that you can. So when it comes to the approver, right? I mean, so you can also, of course, see all the information and the progress on this particular thing on a real-time basis. You don't lose anything there, and of course you have the context of the case, and each one of the person, whatever the information they have provided, you will be able to view it in a single go. You can monitor and track the progress of that case, and then so this particular information is available for the person who is making the final decision. He will also be able to see all the feedback and the comments that the users have provided, each one of the steps, how it went, and what is the action that was taken. And you will also have an accurate audit trail that you want for your compliance and legal purposes. So once you have done that, the senior VP is able to approve it, and you are good to go. And all of this is happening within the system. It is not through a series of email where you don't have a trace and you don't have a visibility of what is happening. And so along with it, there are a couple of other things also, right? So what you can also do is you can define a hierarchy of cases. Like you have a parent case and a child case, you can define a hierarchy of such a case, and you can also, so for instance here you have defined a child case, and you will be able to see that reflected across as a child case here, and you will be able to navigate back and forth between the cases. You will be able to also modify this case on the go again. Suppose if instead of say 4 steps, you want to add 2 more additional steps, you will be able to do that. And more importantly, you will be able to save the whole thing as a new template for future use. So you don't have to rediscover the wheel again. So the next time there is a scenario like this, you will just be able to reuse the same knowledge and the sequence of activities that you did, and then you will be able to replicate that, and it's available for you next time. Right. So this is what the demo we had. So as you can see, an important portion of this particular concept is that we are able to collaborate with multiple people in the organization on real time, right? And so we are actually using the social capability of Appian to reach out to people, to help the work automation, and then mobilize your organization's workforce there. So this is something which is inherent in Appian. So what we have done is we have taken this collaboration to the next level. So what we are doing is we have integrated with a smartwatch, the case management system, through which you can reach out and deliver the information, the updates, the instructions of the case directly to a smartwatch. And as you can see, the person on the go will be able to receive notification and information on the go, and then he will be able to respond to this. Either he can log on to the system nearest to him, or he'll be able to also make some quick decisions, approvals, etc. Through this, and he can trigger some processes. So this is something that we believe is going to transform a lot of industries now in the recent future. So we know that there are people talking about a lot of use cases and applications across industries, like the healthcare, for manufacturing, real estate, retail. I mean, you name it, wearables are something which is coming up in a big way. So what we have done is just to integrate this with Appian to be able to use the potential for a lot of these use cases.
So what we have shown you today is a brief glimpse of two things out there: the unstructured data, the unstructured work. How do you handle it? What are the solutions to do it using dynamic case management functionalities? As you saw, the demo that Ashok did, we didn't go back to the designer, we didn't go back to the IT teams. The business users, the process users were able to go ahead and figure their own ways of working things out there. It's just that it is now much compliant with the system. It's all traceable, rather than a ton of flurries of emails and phone calls and stuff happening on paper. At any point of time, be able to get those notifications on variable devices. At any point of time, be able to interconnect them with things, and so on and so forth. There is much more to solving it in the digital world as well, but we can have those conversations either offline or in some other conversations. We're open to any questions that you might have, or from your visibility perspective, any specific questions from anybody?
Any feedback on this?
Yes, please.
Do you guys have an example on the transportation where you have used Appian to transform their vision?
Yeah, so there are multiple places. As I was saying, going ahead and getting visibility into from getting the product across countries from a custom perspective into the import-export, to even we are working now closely with a railroad company where we are utilizing from a things perspective some drones. And drones are able to capture information about the logistics and the carriers and the railroads and things like that. We're able to go ahead and get that information, do some analytics on top of it, use them for some notifications on some other wearable devices and things like that. So there are immense possibilities right from the core digitization of operations, the example that I gave earlier around the invoice reconciliation, the accruals and the liability ratings and things like that, to the things, interconnected world of things, to even going ahead and doing a whole lot of fundamentals around improving their entire shipment, bill of lading, waybill operations and processes. So we're doing good work in all the three areas. Even on track and trace, yes, there are some projects that we've just initiated. They're not in production yet, though. Sorry, we had a question. Yes, please.
So while you're implementing the change, right, can you talk about how Infosys helps with the cultural change, creating adoption, helping people sort of along the journey, not just building and rolling out new technology, but really making it sustainable?
Sure. Brilliant question. So we do have a whole set of other adoption methodologies, change management methodologies, value realization frameworks out there that we help. We have our entire consulting practice around that as well. We bring in a whole lot of those fundamentals to help adopt these changes. For example, whatever Ashok just did, while for the purpose of demonstration, we'll leave it to you to do that, but there is a set of governance processes around it as well. You just don't want to start doing those changes and adding 5 different sets of approvers, and the approver doesn't even know that he's supposed to approve it, right? Because nobody told him so, and so on and so forth. So there is a whole lot of other underlying work that we do around change management, around user adoption. In fact, even while we start up, during the initial requirements and all, we start with a very different paradigm. We have developed a methodology around it. where we build personas. So the persona of that particular customer of this, who is a French bank, versus a person, the senior VP who's trying to approve, so that approver personas. And then we approach it using a very different mechanism. That's where we get into details of what would make the life of that persona better at that point of time. How do I increase their efficiency and productivity? How would that persona interact with the customer if something is bothering him on the back end? And there's a whole lot of fundamentals methodology around it. Great question. Sai, is there? Yes, please.
What you show us today is great.
Sure.
Where do you see this going in 3 to 5 years?
Absolutely. One thing which will definitely happen, and I'm hoping we will be the first to bring that to you guys in the next 2 years as well. The analytics to make that intelligent enough that rather than you doing it all the time, manually creating those tasks dynamically, sequence, the system starts to learn on itself and starts to generate a different mechanism, a different process, a different way. That's something which will happen in the next 3 to 5 years in our view. Hopefully we would be the first to bring that out to you like this solution, but I think definitely that's going to happen.
One question.
Yes, please.
If you can list down 2-3 changes, which your skin or your top surface on Appian brings to the actual workflow. So I understand Appian is very fantastic and many and everything is very technical. What is over and above you are? If you can list down 2-3.
Sure. So the ability to do really dynamic case management.
Sorry, can you repeat the question for everybody?
Sure. So the question was, what is it that you do differently over and above what the Appian core capability was? Is that a fair representation? So what we did as a part of this solution was 3 or 4 different fundamentals. One was we added the entire dynamic case management principles to be able to generate from a process user or a business user perspective a set of activities, tasks, without getting lost by himself from a designer perspective, right? The second was, how do you go ahead and make it happen from a reference architecture in trying to go ahead and make it work with the integrations in the background or from a governance in the foreground out there. So there is some more of this solution as well in the background, which we haven't shown you today. But that's a couple of more line items that we added.
Right.
Sorry.
So just on this first point here, right? So what a traditional way to address processes, right? I mean, is to go through to design a process, and then you would have to go through the change management. You would have to go through the configuration and the description of that particular UI. So you need to do all that to be able to accomplish that. So, but what we are doing here is to just to get things done faster and to have that flexibility or the agility that people are looking for to manage 1 in a million kind of exceptions. We are able to give them the ability to do that themselves. So you don't have to go through the usual process of building an application, deploying it in production, and then trying to make the change. The business user can themselves configure this and then try to define the activities, define the dependencies, define the UI with it, and so on.
So I know Lizzie is telling me time up, but one last 10 seconds of that one. What we are helping them do with this from a business perspective is getting them started back on Think BPM. What you have done from a technology is adopt, but let's start rethinking what BPM is supposed to do, what you can do with it in the first place, and then how do you start living it and not just adopting it as a technology. But that's a short answer for that.
Great job.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.